Thank you, Claire. Yes. As we mentioned, Connecticut CASA is growing and integrating multiple regional organizations into a unified statewide organization. We benefit from an expanded board of 18 individuals and similarly accomplished advisors, as well as 2 ambassadors who are lending visibility to our cause. In addition to 6 cohorts of dedicated volunteers trained already for Southern Connecticut, we look forward to integrating volunteers trained in Northern Connecticut. But before Claire takes us to the next stage of tonight's lesson, let's invite Dwayne Jackson and Sandy Tranquilli to convey a sense of the role that a CASA volunteer can play on behalf of a child and their family. Dwayne, Sandy?
I'll go first. First of all, let me say that it smells really good in here. I want to take just maybe 2 or 3 minutes to talk about the role of CASA in terms of the how. It occurs to me that some of you may be interested in knowing how we spend our day. How do we make the observations to determine whether or not the child is thriving, to what extent they are at a place of well-being in their current circumstance. So with me, I have found that in addition to actually spending at least an hour or so with the children each month, I try to do more, but at minimum, it's an hour a month. That discussion with the child can be very revealing in terms of understanding where they've been, what they might be struggling with, what they may need in terms of additional resources, to what extent they're communicating with their parent, if in fact they are currently separated from their parent, and to what extent they may be experiencing some kind of struggle either with their academics or with their relationships with those at home or those in school. So there's that, speaking with the child. But there are also other parties that are involved in determining the child's overall well-being. That includes various parties within the school system. As a matter of fact, I had occasion to participate in a planning session with various parties that had to make some determination on whether or not one of the children needed some special needs support. So there's the school entities that are involved in terms of making those observations and ultimately making any recommendation to the court. But there are also other parties, such as attorneys. In both sets of children that I'm supporting, each of the 4 parents involved have an attorney. The children have an attorney. So dealing with the attorneys in terms of getting access to, for one example, for me to speak with a father who's incarcerated, I had to go through an attorney. Speaking with a mother who was separated from the child, I had to speak with an attorney. I will say that the attorneys have been very responsive and very supportive in terms of my requests for visitation. But in addition to the attorneys and the children themselves, there may be also the need to connect with other parties. For example, in 2 of the cases, the children are in programs that help them with their self-esteem, their confidence, dealing with emotional trauma that they experienced that ultimately led to their separation from the parents. So there's that. And in fact, there are other services that are available through other agencies that I'm trying to link with attorneys to get permission through the fathers and other parties to make those programs accessible to the parents. So there are all these entities, but I would be remiss if I excluded or did not mention DCF. The Department of Children and Families have been very supportive in terms of helping me gain the access that I need to understand the services that are available and to communicate that to the parties involved, either the caretaker or the parents that might be interested in knowing what they can do and the roadway or the roadmap in terms of getting access to some of those services as well. So my message here is that there are various entities involved in terms of making the determination on how well the child is faring. And it's through those contacts and through the collaboration with those entities that together we can determine what's best for the child.
Yes, as Dwayne said, we interact, excuse me, with many professionals that are interested in the child and their welfare. But CASA, as CASAs, we have a unique perspective in that we focus primarily on the child. Sometimes DCF and attorneys can't really focus on the child and their needs the way that we can. We can really devote all our attention to the child and their needs. My child happens to have a particular medical need that I thought was being overlooked. And so as a CASA, I was able to contact his pediatrician, his physical therapist, and just to advocate for his health and well-being, and seeing him every few weeks for, as Dwayne said, it's about an hour. I can have an idea of how he's doing and how he's doing medically. And if he's happy in the current home that he's in, talking with teachers, it's great having that overall view of the child and what their needs are. So it's kind of a unique position, and it's very gratifying, especially the interactions that we have with the kids. It's very gratifying and they appreciate it.
So maybe we have one more minute or so, and Sandy and Dwayne could perhaps give an example of how you connect with a child. That would depend on the age of the child and the setting, whether it's a home or a foster home. But I know that you gave an example, Sandy, to me of bringing a tape measure that a child took an interest in. And Dwayne, you said something about how children who were learning from home with laptops, they were showing you things on their laptops. So maybe you want to elaborate on that for a moment?
Sure. When I go to visit my child, I have a bag of toys that I keep with me, primarily for my grandchildren to amuse them when we're out at a restaurant. So I brought my bag of toys, and my child took a particular interest in the tape measure, pulling it out, yanking it back in. So I said, you know what, next time I come, I'll bring you a tape measure. So I went to the dollar store, and he just loved it. And we were measuring everything, his height, my height. So that was a lot of fun. And yeah, he really appreciates it. Every time I go, I'll bring some fruit. He loves strawberries. So I bring a basket of strawberries, and I said, don't eat them all yourself. Please share them with everyone else in the house. There's another foster child there that he seems to be getting along well with. So anything to make a connection. I say the New York Times, once a month, they do a kids page, 5 or 6 pages of kids, things that kids are interested in, animals, mazes, crosswords. And so it's kind of an entryway into, gee, what do you think of this? And what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you like animals? And just to kind of draw them out. Sometimes it's a little difficult with the younger kids, but it's a launching point.
And with me, I would say meeting the child where they are. And I think Sandy alluded to this as well. Meeting the child where they are is very important. So it's not so much about what I'm interested in, it's about what they're interested in, right? So in one example I'll give you is one of the children, he actually just turned 11, and he's into anime. I don't know much about anime. I'm in a much different generation. But he's taught me a lot about anime, about all of the characters, what their special powers are and abilities and all of that. And so when I visit with him, one of the first things he pulls out is his artwork of anime. So he not only watches anime programs, but he's also an artist. And he's very good at, as a matter of fact, in terms of capturing that type of artwork. But getting into the interest, and as Sandy was saying, getting into the interest and understanding what makes them tick is, I think, invaluable in terms of establishing rapport, trust, and having some appreciation for what they do and seeing them respond to your appreciation for what they're interested in. I think that goes a long way in cementing relationships.
Thank you both. I think Claire, you're on again.
Thank you.